Through you, Mr. Mayor, it is 9 a.m. The live stream and recording has begun, and you may be in your meeting.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Good morning, Council, members of SLT, residents both in present and viewing from live stream. I see that we do indeed have quorum this morning, so I call this regular council meeting of Wednesday, May 21st into session. And I ask all those that can to please stand for the national anthem. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the land recognition statement, and this meeting, Councillor Nesnick will be reading it.
Good morning, everyone. The town of Pelham is situated on treaty land steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendouraq, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island live and work in Niagara. The town of Pelham stands in solidarity with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, acknowledging that our high standard of living is a result of the resources and lasting friendship of the Indigenous peoples.
Thank you, Councillor Nesnick. I now turn to the clerk for the approval of agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to item 4, adoption of the agenda, and I understand that Councillor Wink has an amendment to bring forward.
Councillor Wink.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to add on the agenda that the agenda be amended to add a closed session item under section 2392 F and E of the Municipal Act to receive a time-sensitive legal opinion regarding a planning matter in Ward 2.
Thank you, Councillor. And do you have a seconder? Oh, Councillor Hildebrand, you will second? Thank you.
Thank you. To Mr. Mayor for discussion.
Any discussion from council on this amendment? Not seeing any? Sorry, I have to apologize. I have a real bad cold, so I do have a lounge that I have to eat or suck on, or else I won't be able to talk. So please excuse that today. Anyway, no discussion. I'll call the vote. All those in favor of this amendment? Excellent. Thank you. To the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to the agenda as amended, and I'll use the same mover and seconder for this motion. So be resolved that the agenda for the May 21st, 2025 regular meeting of council be adopted as amended. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the amended agenda? Not seeing any. I'll call a vote. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 5, disclosure of pecuniary interests.
Thank you. After viewing the agenda, does any council member have pecuniary interest in general nature thereof to declare? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 6.1.1. This morning, we have a presentation by Councillor Nesnick on behalf of the Seniors Advisory Committee, and I believe that she is joined by Patrick O'Hara for the presentation. I welcome Councillor Nesnick to the floor.
Thank you. Councilor Nesnick
Patrick.
and Patrick, you have the floor.
On over, Patrick. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear us okay? So this is Patrick O'Hara. He's part of our Pelham Senior Advisory Council Committee. And he, myself, and Ty Bollebrook created a subcommittee of the committee to investigate some housing options for some of our elderly residents who are living with dementia or Alzheimer's. So during our investigation, we came across several places in variety of communities, one being St. Catharines. There is 3 homes that they have there that they've retrofitted for 10 patients to live within the home. So I have a little presentation for us, and we'll go through that quickly, and then just a couple asks of council to consider when we're reviewing the bylaws. So our purpose today is we would like to propose and seek support from council regarding the development of aging in place strategy. Our statistics age groups in Pelham. Pelham's has one of the oldest populations per capita in the region, with approximately 51% of our residents aged 50 or older. This has a significant impact on our housing needs as we move forward over the next 10 to 20 years. Having a variety of housing that seniors can live in is imperative to keep our residents happy and healthy and in our town. Right now, many of them have to leave our town to go live in other towns and areas. So our work this past year, a subcommittee, Pat, myself, and Ty, of the PSAC group have made visits to small homes in St. Catharines that offer housing and full care for seniors living with the Alzheimer's and dementia. These small residents house 10 residents who have their own bedrooms, 24-hour care, shared bathrooms, and shared living spaces. They're similar to a typical single-dwelling home, having a yard, central kitchen, eating and living room, as well as smaller dens for small group visits when family come. A team of personal support workers, a manager, cook, cleaner, nurse are on duty and care for the residents 24 hours a day. They have a physician on call and is used as an on-need basis. So these homes are placed in established communities, neighborhoods, and appear to be very similar to homes within the subdivision. So just like your neighborhood community, it's a home within a subdivision. Currently, the cost of living in these homes is approximately $6,000 to $8,000 a month, but this is an all-in cost. So any PT, OT, care, laundry, anything they need is all included in that cost. There's no one-up charges for extra. So possibilities. We'd like to investigate the possibility of bringing one or more of these homes to Pelham. Service groups, developers, independent operators are all possible options. We need to ensure that the town has in place, and here's where our work comes in, is zoning to allow these developments to be built within neighborhoods, either new or as an adaptation to an already existing structure. So in St. Catharines, we visited a new structure that was created in a neighborhood, as well as we went to 2 homes that had been retrofitted with additions out the back that really had the living space out the back. So they're lovely. And then we would like you to be able to help us promote this idea to potential partners to bring the housing option to life here in Pelham. So nothing more I would like better than to have, if my elderly parent has to move into a home, is to keep her in Fonthill. She was born here, she's moved back here, how many years ago? 60 years ago, and nothing would be nicer that she could remain in our community if that needed to be the case. So next steps. Pat, do you want to say anything yet?
I first ran across this idea with a very good friend whose mother actually had transitioned from a senior's residence in which there is virtually no care, and faced with the prospect of ending up in a very large institutionalized long-term care facility. And he discovered this interim step and absolutely was raved about it and so on. So this is where the idea initially came from. It provides interim care, local interim care in the neighborhood in an environment that as closely as possible approximates a home. The ratio is maximum 10 patients. So they very quickly know each other, they cook together, they live together, they eat together, and so on. And of course, it's very, very close proximity to the neighborhood or the area that they lived. It's not Port Colborne or Welland or somewhere and so on. So this is the idea. It does not involve any major, from what we understand, any major financial commitment by the municipality. This is self-sustaining. 2 nurses had originated this idea in St. Catharines, and it's been very successful. Very, very successful. So at this point, it's an information idea with you folks and so on.
Good. Yep. So we just want to make sure that our planning department, and I know we've had a couple conversations about it, include this type of option for housing in both the new official plan, and then make sure in our town zoning bylaw, when you do some housekeeping, that it includes this type of residence to ease the zoning and building. We want to make it as simple as possible for possible developers or long-term care facilities who are interested in this type of housing to come to our town and maybe create one for our residents. And then work with developers and partners to maybe support and throw out the idea to them. Have you thought of doing this? And then hopefully reduce the limitations of getting a project like this underway. If anyone is interested, there are some extra links. I know council has that on their agendas that they could search for those. The folks where we went to visit was the Pioneer Elder Care. Those were the locations in St. Catharines that we visited. So, any questions for us?
Okay, so first of all, Counselor and Patrick, thank you for a great presentation. I thought you had to be a senior to be on the advisory committee. What's he doing up here?
I said earlier, if you call me at 6 o'clock in the morning, when I first look in the mirror. But thank you, Mr. If anyone is interested, we can certainly arrange a visit to any of the council members or anyone to see one of these.
So before I open this up to council, just obviously it's a great program, and we don't even have to invent it. The wheel's already there. We just have to follow a program. Before I go to council, I'd like to maybe have comments from our planning director, Ms. Doosley.
Thank you to the mayor and to the presenters and councillor. We've chatted previously, and we have updated the new official plan accordingly to your request, and we are expecting to bring a zoning bylaw housekeeping forward in early fall. And much like St. Catharines, we plan to have special needs housing in all dwelling types. So that would suffice for your request.
That's
Excellent.
great news. Thank you.
Thank you. Any members of council with questions, go to Councilor Wink.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, thank you very much for the presentation. I echo Patrick's comments about being put into a large institution when you have dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever. It's not a very pleasant way to end your life, being in an institution with probably upwards of 100 different people in the same boat. To look at a facility that has 10 residents and whatever just is more respectful of the individuals, and I appreciate you bringing this through. Just a quick question through you, Mayor, to Dr. Dusling. Would this be frameworked as a group home then, and do we not have some planning policies around group homes?
To the planning director.
Through the mayor to councillor, we do have provisions in the current zoning bylaw for group homes. However, we think that the more proactive way to do this is to allow all special needs housing in all dwelling types, or special needs housing in all dwelling types, I should say. And that would be more open to not just Alzheimer's, but other opportunities as people grow in age.
Right, so the only question I have, and it's a question, it's not a roadblock, but if you're creating this in a residential area is parking. So you've got you've got the manager, you've got the therapist, you've got the housekeeper, you've got to have room for visitors. What type of parking was with these homes that you visited in St. Catharines?
Yeah, that is a good question, because of course that was our concern as well. So the one new structure facility that we visited had 2 homes, actually, and then a large entrance driveway in the center. So it could park about 12 vehicles on
Okay.
any given day. So there was enough parking. Now, the one in the second one we went to had more limited parking, I'll grant you that. So I'm not sure how where the staff parked, to be totally honest with you, but
Right.
there was approximately 6 parking spaces there. So they were, the front yard gets filled with parking, there's no doubt about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions? Our Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is on staff ratio to, if you have 10 patients or 10 residents, what's the ratio of staff to residents? And I'm looking more on supervision and things like that.
I would say, Pat, would you say about 2 to 1?
It's consistently, their
Yeah.
program is 2 full-time staff during the day, waking hours. Okay, continuously. That's their program. And that's one of the things that makes it so attractive, is that there's literally a 5 to 1 ratio,
Okay.
which is way much better than an institution of any type, and so on. So daytime is 5 to 1, 2 full-time residents, and nighttime is 1.
Jobs done. And then, of course, you have all that support staff
Yeah.
readily available by phone to assist. Okay, thank you.
So that's the key of the thing, is the 2 to 1.
Yeah. But also through the day, there's the cleaners there's the cooks so there is more than the 2 to 1 ratio at that point. It's overnight for sure, they've got the overnight. I think the other thing is too, as we mentioned, you get to know the people, and they were happy, and they were content, and they were calm, and the atmosphere was just lovely. And as I said, you see the same faces every day, rather than in a large institution where, it's a revolving door of staff. So you're on 3 days, and then you don't see that patient again for another 3 days, or, so that's the beauty of it as well, is that the residents get to know the people that are caring for them in a real intimate way, I would say.
The unit, if I may, the units that we have seen have a large common room with an open concept kitchen, sitting area, living area, and so on, with the bedrooms around this. So there's constant communication going on, constant between the people in the common rooms, the kitchen, and so on. The residents cook. They do much the same things that they would do if they were at home, but of course under supervision, and so on. And this is the idea. As far as physical size is concerned, I'm sorry, but I don't know the streets, but if you visualize it, I'm sure we all have, if you go down Merritt Street near the old fairgrounds in Welland, as you're just about to head into the 403, there's a brand new subdivision on the right-hand side. The first thing you see in that subdivision is a small community center. 1 floor, single level, and so on. It looks like a residence. It's a fairly larger residence, but it looks like a residence. That's the type of project the type of building. So this is not something that stands out like a sore thumb in the community. It becomes part of the community.
Yeah, if I didn't know it was there, I would drive right by it, so.
Excellent. Any other questions? Councilor Hildebrand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much for your presentation. I've visited some of these traditional type homes where they have these people. I think this is an excellent idea. But saying that, I'd like to talk to the planning department, Dr. Dusling, with the challenge I see in front of us. When I look at St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, Welland, and those kind of communities, they have carved out creative value in land by using underutilized areas in commercial or light industrial spaces to create these zones where they can build these properties. That's what I see. And I know that I don't think Pelham really has those kind of lands. So the challenge for Pelham I see is to find underutilized land or find a planning way to obtain these lands at a reasonable price. Because it's almost like a two-edged sword in Pelham in that everyone wants to live here, but because everyone wants to live here, it's a high cost of living. And it all translates down to the cost of the land and be able to effectively, affordably create these properties. What, from a planning perspective, can be done to mitigate these costs in land purchases?
To the director.
Through the mayor to councillor, that's a big question. I don't have all the answers today, but that's definitely something that staff can continue to look at and research. I will say that we do not have a lot of industrial land here in Pelham, so those choices are few and far between. But we do have a lot of opportunities for combined zoning or lands where you can do both commercial and residential, commercial on the ground floor, residential on the upper floor. There's lots of different types of combined zonings that we can do throughout the community, so those might be some opportunities as well. And I think more than anything, working with our development community and creating partnerships will be an ongoing opportunity as well.
Councilor.
I appreciate that. The challenge I see is we're competing with developers who are looking for fully serviced land to sell at a premium price. That's the challenge I see in front of us. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
If I may address that a little bit, what we visualize is hopefully incorporating a major developer in a development that's going on. Take it just as an example out of the air. Take the Daymute development as an example. Approaching the Mountain Views of the world, okay, who want to build a whole bunch of homes, asking them to include this in their plans. And not involving any money from the municipality at this point. We're not thinking of that from that standpoint. We think this is an attainable thing given the size of Pond Hill, through service clubs, through citizens. It's self-sustaining once it's built. So in a development such as, say, eventually Daymute is going to be developed, something of this nature, involving the assistance of citizens and the developer is what we initially very early on visualize.
Excellent, thank you. Any other questions? Not seeing any. I'm again, thank you for bringing this to Pelham Council. And obviously, there's a few wrinkles to be worked out, but at least it's on the radar, and that's step one. So thank you again for the presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Therefore, I have a motion put forth by Councillor Hildebrand, seconded by Deputy Mayor Eckert. Be resolved that Council receive the presentation from the Seniors Advisory Committee representatives regarding age-friendly housing strategy for information, and that Council direct planning staff to continue to include a variety of housing typologies in the official plan and zoning bylaw to promote age-friendly housing in the town of Pelham. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the presentation? Not seeing any. Call the vote. All those in favor? See none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the adoption of council minutes. I have a motion put forth by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Niznik. Be it resolved the following minutes be adopted, printed, and circulated as read. COH 2025 regular council meeting of May 7th, 2025. To you, Mr. Mayor, for any errors or omissions.
Okay, thank you. After viewing these minutes, has any councillor discovered any error or omissions? And I see Councillor Wink.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. There is a minor omission in 12.2.3. It says that, and that council select option 1 to fund the town's portion of the $320,000 for 2026 capital project number 500526, Parks LED Lights Upgrade Centennial Ballpark Diamond. There was an omission. It should have said, and proceed with PRK 0225 North Pelham Park Ball Diamonds to Clay for $90,000. So that last point was omitted
Omitted.
from the minutes.
Excellent. I'll turn to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have that verbiage from Council Rink, and I will see to that correction.
Okay, thank you. Any other omissions or additions noted? I don't see any. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 8 on the agenda. If there are any items to which council would like to lift from the consent agenda, now would be the time to do so.
Not seeing any, Madam Clerk.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That then brings you to the consent agenda. If any members of council wish to speak to a topic on the consent agenda, now would be the time. And if you'd like to proceed by category, we can begin with staff reports.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I have 9.2.2, the Green Tech Vineland, and I see is Samantha Witkowski, is she with us today? Oh, thank you. Ms. Witkowski, are you there?
I'm here, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, thank you very much. I see that you've had a couple of kickoff meetings as such. Any first impressions on how this program will fit into the town canopy cover and tree planting and what have you?
Yes, the consortium team is very excited to get started. We've had a few kickoff meetings just to explain what the case studies will involve. So as you can see in the report, we're involved in 2 case studies, and we were selected to be involved in these case studies based on our specific needs. And then one of the first couple of activities will be connecting directly with the consortium team to discuss more specific, context-specific information regarding Pelham and our goals and challenges that we're experiencing with tree planting and with our tree canopy goals. And so following those conversations, the consortium team will be able to tailor the case studies to our specific needs.
Thank you. I noticed that the number of nurseries, there's just one local nursery. Once we have staff that's knowledgeable on which trees we are looking for, would we be reaching out to other local nurseries for supplies? The nurseries you listed, they're not the only ones that we would be doing business with, correct?
That's correct. That particular event was set up through the consortium team, through their connections, but they recognize that there are many other organizations and companies that we could be doing business with, and they are happy to facilitate those connections for us or help us in any way to help with that type of business.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Those are my questions. While we have Ms. Witkowski on camera, any other questions concerning this program? I don't see any. Thank you very much for answering those questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody, any other items? Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On section 9.2.3, the heritage inventory and designations to the Director of Planning, Dr. Dusling. Did I read that correctly, that one of the main components is the owner of the subject property has to want this?
Through the mayor to councilor, absolutely. So this is a program that we're establishing, and it'll be on the website, and a process that we have. So when a property owner would like, or if they would like to designate their property, they can connect with us at the town.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Eckert. Any other questions? I have one more, 9.2.4, the official plan. Last time it was in front of council, it was passed with the caveat that planning meet with the agricultural committee. I was wondering, any comments from the director of planning on that meeting, and do you feel all items, or 98% perhaps, whatever the percentages were the problems, apparent problems resolved?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We had a great opportunity last week to meet with the Agriculture Advisory Committee at their regular scheduled meeting. And we also reached out to the farmers and property owners that provided letters, as well as the planning consultant. So we had a really good discussion. Much of the meeting was about education on the policies, some fine tuning of policies. We labeled the overlay on all the maps, so it was very clear that it was an overlay, and rearranged some of the sections so it was easier to read. Overall, no policy changes were made, just some fine tuning, and we have heard positive things back from the planning consultant that was speaking on behalf, I'm going to say, of all of the residents and those that were of concern. So at this point, we think we've met all of their requests, and we've outlined that if they have further information or would like to provide further comments, that we can definitely pass those along to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
Excellent. So now the next step after today is to the province. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the bylaw is on the agenda for today. We're hoping that it will be approved, adopted, and that means Lindsay has about 15 days to get a full package to the province, and that will be in their hands to approve.
Excellent. Thank you for answering those questions. Yep, and I'm done. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
If there's no further comments on staff reports, you can move on to information correspondence, including from the region.
Any questions, comments on the next group of agenda items? And I do have, I see 9.41 development applications, if I may. Again, to the Director of Planning. This is from the region, and I just, could you refresh our memory, my memory at least, how's the town's level of applications looking, or will that be coming out next month?
Through the mayor to the mayor. Yes, this is a regional report on their statistics for development from last year.
Yes.
We give quarterly reports in our updates. So the next quarterly report, you'll see where we are for the end of Q2.
Okay, excellent. I look forward to that, to see just how everything is moving forward in this strange times we live in. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm done. Go ahead, Council Nesnick.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. So just a comment, or maybe an impact comment with regards to the letter we received from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So what sort of impact, I'm assuming it, should this bill pass, what impact will that have on both future development in the town as well as financial impacts with regards to development charges? And are we planning to make, it does ask if you have any comments, are we as a community going to respond and give some feedback to the ministry with regards to our concerns?
To the Director.
Thank you. Through the mayor to councillor. I'll try to answer your questions in regards to the planning piece and the Planning Act, but I'll open it to maybe David or Teresa to assist with the development charges piece and next steps. In terms of Schedules 3 and 7 of the new proposed Bill 17, that specifically talks to complete applications and minor variances. In terms of how that will change development, in our current official plan, we list the studies that can be identified or accepted as part of a complete application. So we will need to update that. The timing with our new official plan most likely means the province will do that for us. And the second, in terms of minor variances, what that bill is outlining is that there would be a 10% allowance from the current zoning provisions. So for example, if there is a setback of 5 meters, 4.5 would be allowed as of right because that's the variance of 10%. So we would need to do some very good review when we have proposed developments coming forward. And that would be new for every municipality in reviewing that. As you can imagine, when we do get a development application, there is a good time commitment right now to make sure all the provisions and setbacks, et cetera, are met. So that would take additional time. That's in terms of the Planning Act piece, and I'll leave it to David and Teresa to talk about development charges.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay,
Do you have any comment there with regards to, okay, thank you.
to the CEO, Mr. Cribbs.
I think it's fair to say we're very alive to the issue and we're working on it internally. I can tell you that the leadership team has been called. We've done dedicated meetings vis-a-vis strong mayor powers, and that was less than a month ago. And in fact, this afternoon, we're meeting as a leadership team, and this is on the agenda. It probably goes without saying. Because and we're trying, and we have commentary from the Municipal Finance Officers Association, the in-house group of professionals Ms. Quinlan Murphy belongs to, and we have some from AMO, we have some from the CEO Association. So we're sort of working through. We don't have full answers right now because it's frankly it's too fresh and it's too new. The most obvious direct impact that isn't too hard to analyze is that in due course, at some point in time, we anticipate the property north of the MCC to turn into a long-term care home. You'll recall years ago you sold land for that purpose, and we know that would have been more than $1 million in development charge, and the town, it changes based on the type of property you're building, but much like property taxes, the town keeps just slightly less than half, and the percentage varies if it's institutional versus residential, et cetera, but the regional development charges and town ones, and generally speaking, we're less than half the price on everything, whether it's property tax or development charges. That's a reason, a default, just correct assumption. So something less than half of that the town won't receive into its coffers now. So that's a self-evident direct municipal cost. It's actually much harder for us to ascertain. All the other pieces are, in my terms, nibbling around the edges. We have to front the costs. We don't get paid until people move into houses. Some things we can't charge interest on. So not only do we have to front the cost, we have to eat, if it's a year and a half or 9 months till you sell the house or the condo or whatever it is you've built, all of that's now local off the levy, right? Like that's been moved structurally. And it's very hard to guess right now because it's new for everyone, not just Pelham. I can tell you that we're taking it seriously, and each of us is in communication with our respective professional associations and then AMO, of course, which is our umbrella group, and doing the best analysis that we can, but we don't really know right now. There's a lot to unpack, and I think the worst part is it was a complete surprise with no consultation whatsoever. So you're blindsided by very substantial changes. So, I mean, if Ms. Quinlan Murphy has specific comments, she's always very welcome, of course, but we're working on it. I don't know any municipality that has an answer fully on this because you just keep peeling back the layers and you think, oh, well, I don't even know how to estimate us fronting money and then what will that do policy-wise? Will we just have to take the position that we simply can't afford to allow this development to go forward because there is no money in the bank? I don't read anything in the new legislation yet that convinces me that we can't still come to, in fact, I think they're saying we can still contemplate private agreements with developers to say, well, we just don't have the money, so notwithstanding what the Act says, if you build the infrastructure and essentially front it, it can continue. So we're going to have to bring you real policy choices because I don't know what to say when we don't have it in the bank. It either means development doesn't happen, or you have to choose to increase taxes, or you have to choose to take on debt to finance growth. Like, there's got to be one of those things. So I can say we're working hard and we're thinking about it, and we're trying to see what our neighbors are doing so that we're in semi-lockstep, because you don't want, the notion was to have sort of a more universal system. And so we do need to look at what our neighbors are doing, and they need to look at what we're doing too. It's a two-way street to sort of land on something sensible. We're not there yet. To be abundantly clear, I can just tell you we've got our best, we've got a lot of talent working on this file. And we will be updating you. And I see Ms. Quinlan Murphy does have something she'd like to say. And that's great, because I too would like to stop talking.
Through you,
To the
Mr. Mayor,
Director of Treasury, Finance.
one of the concerns I have is that we have a debt commitment from the development charges. Part of the MCC is funded through the development charges. So off the top, every year, I need $600,000 to fund the principal and interest portion of that community center. So if we're not getting the money up front and we have to wait, and if we can't, if the reserve is not there for development charges, it's coming through taxes. One way or another, the principal and interest payment of that debt has to get paid. So that's my concern here with all this deferral of not receiving the DC money at building permit time, which is what we get right now. This is going to have a big impact on that. And also, you know, we have a development charge background study, and a lot of projects are being funded partially by development charges, and we're going to have to revisit all that and the timing of those projects and when debt could be taken out. Because if the money's not coming in, then we can't pay the debt through the development charges. It has to come through taxes, and that's the last thing we want to do, is add more of a tax burden to our resident.
Excellent, thank you for that. And it's so strange, when they first brought this out 2 or 3 years ago, the town was allowed, or was going to be allowed to, I believe, charge 5% interest, waiting for these development charges to be paid. And now that's off the table. We can't even charge interest on that now. So it's, yeah, here's your infrastructure at our expense, and pay us when you can, kind of thing. Wow. Seems a new way of doing business, that's for sure. Thank you, both staff members, for the update on that. Any, Councilor Nesnick?
So just as a follow-up question to that, in the letter it says that comments can be sent to the Regulatory Register of Ontario, comments, from between May 12th and June 11th, which will quickly be approaching, as well as then there's with regards to other, so that's for the one thing, and then they get also till June 26th, you have to talk about any comments with regards to the associated regulatory changes. So just wondering, are you doing a collective response to this, or are we doing an individual town response, or just wondering if those conversations have occurred? Because I definitely think we need to make sure the ministry is hearing our concerns loud and clear.
To the CAO, Mr. Cribbs?
So in fairness, the director and I have had a conversation about this, a fairly detailed one. There's always I just speak from a municipal management perspective, always a sort of a challenge. We often have these timelines, and in some municipalities, staff are welcome to put in comments on behalf of the corporation, and others, the council wants to see the comments before we submit them in the name of the town. There isn't a right or wrong answer. I can just tell you it's either staff do it, or staff bring their comments to council. This one, we actually do have enough time to come back to you. So if you'd like to see those, we can come to you in June prior to that deadline. Most commonly, in fact, for those of you who are in your second term of council, we had a couple of times we made submissions last term where the dates were so tight, we didn't even have a council meeting in between, so staff just made submissions because that was the only option. So it's not a conversation we've had this term of council. All the other changes have been just sort of made without consultation and without commentary. This one's got at least, although there wasn't consultation, there's a commentary period. So I think, unless it bothers you, I think we would come back but with our recommendations on what, as opposed to simply choice, we say, like, these are things we think should be said, and here's why, basically. Because that would allow us, if you do pass them, for us to just submit them as they are, or just with some things removed, if you're uncomfortable with some components. If that's so, please do. And I see Councillor Wink definitely wants to say something about that.
Councilor Wink?
Yes, could I suggest that you go ahead, make the comments, send them off, and then just give us the comment as an FYI?
That is administratively simpler for us. I can tell you there's certainly, I know at least some of our comments will be around the wisdom or lack thereof of removing development charges entirely from long-term care, because I think that creates a municipal disincentive to encourage long-term care. Right? So long as Ontario promised to make you whole, then there's a reason to still support. But otherwise, it's economically rational for municipalities to now suggest, well, just build condos instead. Because we get paid for condos, we don't get paid for long-term care now. And it can't be their idea to create a disincentive. But that's, at least economically, in the first instance, that's a disincentive. So I'm sure we'll have some commentary around that. And then there are other more specific planning pieces I don't have the knowledge or skill or capacity to speak to. But we'd be happy to take, so you don't need to provide direction. We're happy to do that as a default, if that so pleases this council. And we'll just put a copy of that on a future agenda under correspondence so that you can see that, and the public can too.
Thank you, Councilor Wink, for bringing that forward. I remember in one of our conversations, Mr. CAO, that the commentary period ended in June, which was nice, but the government passed the bylaw in May. So the commentary is there for hopefully more than show, but sometimes it's a toss-up. So again, we'll look forward to what staff has to send on the other side of the lake. Thank you. Any other comments? And Madam Clerk, I forget where I am.
That just leaves us with advisory committee minutes.
Okay, thank you. Without any other questions, comments? Not seeing any, I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, the motion here is moved by Councillor Brunarski, seconded by Councillor Hildebrandt, that the consent agenda items as listed on the May 21st, 2025 council agenda be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any further comments on any agenda item? Not seeing any, I call the question. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries. To you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to staff reports requiring action. Our first item today is 11.2.1, Heritage and Significant Community Tree Program, and I have a motion put forth by Deputy Mayor Eckert, seconded by Councillor Niznik. Be it resolved that Council receive report 2025-0117 for information, and that Council support the Heritage and Significant Community Tree Program as outlined. To Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, discussion on this program? Turn to Councilor Wink.
Thank you, Mayor. To the Director of Public Works. If we start looking at trees that are 70 to 100 years of age and 50 centimeter in diameter, how will that impact when we urbanize some of our older streets in the municipality where we would have to look at taking down some trees?
To the Director of Public Works, Jason Moore.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, that's an interesting discussion. So a lot of our older streets are narrow right-of-ways. Whenever we do a reconstruction project or urbanization of a road, we look to not only upgrade underground services, but we also look at providing active transportation facilities and accessibility concerns get brought into play with respect to sidewalks and where they're positioned, how wide they are. So it's always a delicate balance between the need of the user, the end result user, with respect to accessibility and active transportation and a complete street, with the idea of keeping the urban canopy intact and trying not to have a negative impact on the environment. So that's a design issue that we look at when we do the designs for these projects. Unfortunately, there are circumstances where we would need to remove trees if it impacted infrastructure that need to be put in place. We always try to work around that. So it is a balance. We would deal with that through the design phase. And maybe I pass this over to the director of planning as well. We would designate it as as far as I understand, we would designate it as, if it's a municipally owned tree, we would designate it as a significant tree, in which case we would do everything we can in our power to try to retain that tree when we did a reconstruction project.
To the Director of Planning, Ms. Doosley?
Yeah, through you, the mayor, thank you. And I'll ask Shannon to come up because I know she has a very good answer to this question. But I will say that the town is trying to be an advocate for this program, and we know that we have some trees on town lands that meet the qualifications of either heritage or significant community tree. And so we will be putting those forward as part of this program. But Shannon, I know, has a good answer for how that connects back to opportunities needed for street construction.
Ms. Luak, you have some answers.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just clarify that the intention of the significant community tree designation is not to designate all municipal trees that meet the criteria listed in the report. It's to recognize specific trees. So it wouldn't be like a blanket situation where every tree on a street would be considered a significant community tree. It's more for those outliers, those trees that are a really unique species. Maybe they're associated with history of the town or something like that. In terms of, we did set out a process for both inclusion as a significant community tree, but we also set out a process for removal. Obviously, removal would be a last resort. The goal is always to try to preserve where possible, but where that's not an option, for example, if we did happen to have a significant tree that was in the way of an infrastructure project and there was no alternative, what we've said is that in that case, we would default to the town's tree maintenance policy, which sets out replacement ratios. So if it's a large tree, that replacement ratio is quite large. It's 3-to-1 or 4-to-1, depending on the size. So that would be the default. Obviously, that's something that would be a last resort. And when trees are being picked as significant community trees, again, we would have a mind to that they really are unique examples, as opposed to just every tree, and also be consulting with Public Works to make sure that we don't anticipate that tree being in the way of an infrastructure project that's planned.
Okay. Councillor?
Yeah, thank you for that. I just don't want to approve this and then all of a sudden we get caught with our pants down. And, we just want to be able to, when we move forward on urbanizing some streets, that we're not caught because of a policy that we approved today. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? See Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Just a clarification, so, and I think it's probably to Director of Public Works, Mr. Mark, but, so when you're talking about in the design phase, so let's say, and I'm not asking you to commit to anything, but we know we're going to be doing Pancake Lane. So the north side of Pancake Lane has less trees right now, especially with what happened by the church. And the south side has more of the trees. So when you're into the design phase of something like that, would you be looking at maybe slightly more to the north side, the road being, than the south side? Is that something that you look at?
To the Director?
Through Mr. Mayor, yes. So when we do design, we'll look at underground infrastructure restrictions, as well as we'll look at, in this case, trees. We'll try to avoid damaging or removing large established trees. It's part of the way we do business and then we do our design work. I know there's other engineering. In this instance, I believe the design of Pancake Lane is, I would say, about 80% complete at this point in time. We've retained a consultant, they're working on it. I believe there's a multi-use path on the south side of the road, which will provide accessible active transportation for all users, walking and cycling. We can do different design techniques like changing the grades of the road in order to mitigate impacts to trees and roots. And so that's being undertaken. So the long and short of it is there's a lot of other things that come into play as well, other than trees when we do a design and where the infrastructure lays, but we always try to have the smallest amount of impact on the environment and the trees that line the streets.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions? Not seeing any. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to your next item, which is 11.2.2, budget reduction 2025. And I have a motion put forward by Councillor Wink, seconded by Councillor Hildebrandt. Be resolved that Council receive report 2025-0123 for information, and that Council approve the operating budget savings and capital deferral as listed in Appendix 1. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to again thank Councilor Wink for seconding the motion. An even bigger thank you to staff for taking the motion seriously and doing some hard number crunching. And yes, it's true, many of the savings, we're punting projects down a year or two, but I think that that year or two that these projects are put out or down the road, it gives the town, the economy as a whole, a little more time to deal with the new realities that are facing us due to certain individuals' actions. So again, I find the the savings are significant, and I'm definitely going to be voting for this. And again, I realize there's a lot of work that went into finding these numbers, and I appreciate that. I'll open it up to council. Councilor Wink.
So through you, Mayor, to the Director of Finance, then the $90,000 for the clay diamond in North Pelham Park would have to be taken off here. We agreed to that last week or last meeting, so that's got to be eliminated. I'd also like to highlight the bocce ball courts for $44,000. The presentation that we had with the group about 3 or 4 meetings ago was compelling. I would hate like heck to keep on putting them off. I think the $44,000 is a reasonable spend. It's not going to impact all of this greatly. I think we were looking at putting the bocce ball courts in Centennial Park, which is getting very congested, and there's a lot going on there. May I suggest that we look at putting the bocce ball courts in the old Pelham Arena Park, whatever we call that right now, but right behind Emerald Trails and the Platform Tennis Club, right in that area. There's ample space for bocce ball courts there. It's not a high impact use facility, so I think it would blend in well with that small parkette.
And let's go to the Director of Recreation and Wellness for her thoughts on your suggestions.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with Councillor Wink. That would be an ideal location for the bocce ball courts. They don't take up too much room. There's still open space, passive space that could be used by the community, as well as it would complement the platform tennis. And we would be able to accomplish that this year if it's the council's wish.
I just, again, the caveat, how do you think parking would fall into this? Do you see any problem with that, or do you find, do you feel there's sufficient parking to take that additional traffic?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, good question. It's always about parking in my world. We do have 2 designated parking areas for that park as well. Platform tennis is a winter sport, so and bocce ball is a summer sport. So they would take over the area, and it does not. It's not a large group of people that it would be attracting.
Excellent. I forgot about the fact that platform is mostly a winter sport, indeed. Excellent. Back to Councilor Wink.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to add to the parking, I believe it's Rolling Meadows. There's ample parking along Rolling Meadows that it's just a very, very short walk into that park. So there is sufficient parking. And quite frankly, when the Platform Tennis Club has a tournament or whatever on a weekend, those parking lots aren't sufficient for those individuals. Guess what? They find a place to park, and it's on Rolling Meadows, so it's not a big deal.
Okay, thank you. Now, Madam Clerk, if indeed, well, first, I guess before we can, if we want to take something off the list, we need a motion?
Yes, you can do that through an amendment.
Okay, excellent. Before I call for that motion, is any other discussion? Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The way I'm looking at this document is these are measures that we can take now in anticipation that something might happen in the future. And if those things don't happen, we've saved a lot of money that could have been used on projects. Is that, am I?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. What we're doing is we're deferring these projects to another year, so we'll probably be mostly of them 2026. So the money that we're saving, how the town is benefiting from this is that we're actually going to get interest on this money not being spent this year, but the money will be spent next year. So it's not as if we're saving $6 million forever. We're still going to spend it next year, but we're going to have that extra money in the bank in case we need it, because maybe with the tariffs, something's going to be more expensive. So as opposed to going into a deficit in our operating budget, we'll have additional, let's say, interest income on this money not spent that we could use to offset any increases.
Okay, thank you. So, and maybe to the Director of Recreation and Wellness, but so we have deferred the project on the multi-use pad at North Pelham Park till next year. And we were going to go ahead with the redoing of the ball diamond there. But now we're going to take that away as well. So nothing's going to happen at North Pelham Park. Is that?
No, through you, Mr. Mayor. The correction here is that the $90,000 should not have been on the list. So that was an error, because council did approve at the last meeting with the Field of Dreams grant that we are moving forward with the $90,000 clay ball diamond upgrade. So that $90,000 is coming off this list.
And that's why I asked the experts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Eckert. Oh, wait, okay. First of all, Shelley, Ms. Neslick, did you have, I'll go with her.
Sorry, thank you very much. Yes, so just a question with, I agree with Councillor Wink's suggestion to remove the bocce ball court and proceed with that project this year. And moving it to that location sounds great. Just asking the question about washroom access in that area.
To the Director of Recreation.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we would be bringing in a portable washroom in the area for access. A nice one, accessible.
I just said I whispered a nice one. Yeah, thank you, because that may need to be an accessible one, right? Correct? Okay, thank you. I'm good with that then.
To Councilor Wink.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the treasurer. The $2 million for the outdoor pool, we've received a grant. When does that grant have to be spent by?
To the Director.
March 31st, 2027. March 31st,
So
2027.
we're still
Yes.
good for that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other debate? And if not, I'll go back to the clerk. She has an amendment to read.
So to address the ball diamonds, we have an amendment that could state that the motion be amended to add that PKR 02 2025 North Pelham ball diamond clay for $90,000 be removed from the list of deferrals noted in Appendix 1. And to you, Mr. Mayor, you can handle that as a solo amendment, and then any other amendments proposed by council, if you'd like to group them, you may.
But why don't we,
Address them
the other
independently?
amendment will be the one from
Yes.
Why don't we, I think we can probably group them.
Yes, if that's your wish. So then we would also add that the bocce ball courts for $44,000 be removed from the list of deferrals noted in Appendix 1. So I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder for that motion.
Okay, so Councilor Wink will obviously move it, and Deputy Mayor Eckert will second it. Okay, thank you. So unless anyone on council wants to vote on these separately, okay, excellent. Any other last-minute debates or questions on the item? Not seeing any, I'll call the vote. Oh, Councilor Nesnick, did you? Go ahead.
I apologize. I just had one more question, excuse me, with regards to, this would be through you to our Public Works Director. The WTR 0125 Canberra Haste, the water main, no, not that one, sorry. The one up the design Canberra Road to East Balfour water main replacement for $55,000. Is that water main, so you've deferred that future 2 to 4 years. There is that water main, what's the condition of that water main? And how severe is it that be replaced? And what would the cost be if for something it failed? Like we want to be proactive, right? Not reactive. So that was my one concern with regards to that project being deferred.
To the Director of Public Works, Mr. Moore.
Sure, through you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm not aware of any water breaks recently on that section of water main. It is an old cast iron main. We're looking to replace those throughout the town, and we've had a pretty aggressive approach at doing so. This is strictly a design for the water main portion. We do realize the need for urbanization of that section of road as well. So by deferring this project, you would do the design of the water main along with the design of the actual urbanization in the roadway itself. With respect to the number of breaks, don't have any information with me handily today, but I don't believe we've had any recently. And if we do have a break, if it's something our crews can do, we'll go out and fix the water main under the current operating budget. Otherwise, we bring in a contractor to do a repair. So it would just be a standard water main repair.
Councilor?
Okay, thank you for that then. Fingers crossed.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, discussion? If not, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And I see none opposed. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to the motion as amended, which would be to accept Appendix 1 as amended today. For ease, I can use Councillor Wink and Deputy Mayor Eckert as a mover seconder if they are okay with that.
Yep. You okay for move, and Deputy Mayor? Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me. On the motion as amended, any further discussion? Not seeing any, call the vote. All those in favor? And I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings you to item 14, and I have a motion put forth by Councillor Niznik, seconded by Councillor Wink. Be it resolved that Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaws, do now read a first, second, and third time and do pass same, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws as follows. 1, 27-2025 being a bylaw to appoint members to the Finance and Audit Committee and the Environmental and Climate Adaptation Advisory Committee. 2, 28-2025 being a bylaw to provide for the adoption of the official plan for the Town of Pelham. 3, 29-2025 being a bylaw to delegate authority to the Niagara region to regulate the destruction or injury of trees and woodlands under 1 hectare, heritage trees and significant community trees. To you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any discussion, questions on any of these bylaws? Deputy Mayor Eckert.
Just a quick question. Am I missing, or do we have names for those committees in subsection 1?
Please do let me confirm, just a moment.
Thank you.
So the names are contained within the appendix to the bylaw. And that was just based on the discussion from May 7th as to the new council representation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? See none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That brings us to the closed session item, which was added today through an amendment. So in accordance with the direction provided through the amendment, I will now read the following motion and would seek a mover and a seconder. Be it resolved that the next portion of the meeting be closed to the public in order to consider the following under Section 239(2) E and F of the Municipal Act as follows. E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality. And F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, being one item, a planning matter in Ward 2. To you, Mr. Mayor, I'd be looking for a mover and a seconder.
We need a mover and a seconder to go in camera. Bryce, Council Bernarski will move it.
Thank you.
And Council Hildebrand will second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and for a vote.
Okay, any discussion? Call a vote. All those in favor? I see none opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please allow us a moment to stop the streaming and shut